was a rising planned, you see, and then, as usual, called off through the IRB. The time isn't yet, not yet. And it was called off, that's to say officially, through the Republican Brotherhood. That they affected the volunteers, you see, who were the main army. Well, the citizen army, amongst others, took no notice of that. John McNeill was the leader of the volunteers and he called it off. And it was decided to go out if we only went out by ourselves. That's the citizen army. That's what led off Easter Monday. Easter Monday we assembled outside Liberty Hall down there in Beresford Place for the march of the attack on the GPO. Most of the volunteers in that were to attack there, do you see, because it was decided by a good number of volunteers that they'd take no notice of this call off, that they would go out. Well, our party of the Citizen Army, under Connolly's supreme command, of course, we were to start off at 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock was the time exactly. But 5 minutes before that, or less, my little party, under a young captain called Sean Connolly, no relation to James Connolly at all. He was a young captain, young actor that I knew very well. We started off to attack Dublin Castle. That was our orders. The girls were all served out with revolvers. I had my own at the time. And we started off up Dame Street, just a little ahead of the other start off. Well, when we came to Dublin Castle Gate, Connolly led us round to the gate, and the sentry, the British sentry who was inside in his box, saw us, surprised and, I suppose, electrified. He rushed forward and he banged the gates in our faces just in the nick of time to shut us out. So Sean Connolly, who had been a clerk in the City Hall, which is practically part of Dublin Castle, knew all the ropes and got a little side gate, tiny side gate there, open, and had keys or something. Anyhow, there was no difficulty about us rushing in, girls and men together, into the City Hall, and I and some of the girls went up to the very top, looking for the kitchen, which we wanted to arrive at in order to take care of the commissariat for the men and a place for wounded, if any. So we established ourselves in one of the very top rooms in the City Hall, which is like a peppercaster up there standing. And then the cross-firing continued very rapidly and went on for some hours, some couple of hours. And Sean Connolly asked me to go over to the GPO to ask for reinforcements. And I went out and down Dame Street, and there I met Frank Sheehy Skeffington walking up Dame Street, very, very perturbed looking, very agitated and perturbed looking, but quite calm. He was walking in the middle of the road, taking no notice of the bullets more than if there were raindrops, but looking terribly perturbed, looking up at the houses and the roofs where the fighting men were, both British and Irish. He was very brave. He was a pacifist. He always said, "I am ready to die for Ireland, but I will not kill for Ireland." That was his slogan. So I got over to the GPO and made my request to James Connolly, who told me to tell Sean that he'd send men as soon as ever he could. So I went back again. And soon after that, Sean Connolly was hit. He was hit somewhere in the body. Hit very badly because he fell and his eyes didn't close. They flickered. He wasn't able to speak. So I dispatched one of our girls up to Stephen's Green, where Dr. Kathleen Lynn was, with Michael Mallon. She was the medical officer of the Citizen Army. And she came down and up and examined Sean Connolly and looked very serious. And she said, "I'm afraid he's going." And in a few minutes he did go. I knelt beside him, saying prayers into his ear. And his little brother, a younger brother, about 15, was crying bitterly, oh so bitterly, by his side. So Sean passed out. Very sad and very noble death. The cross-firing continued all day until late in the evening, when there was a crashing of windows downstairs and a loud voice said, "Surrender in the King's name." So we went downstairs. We had a wounded boy, and the bullets, you see, were flying, and the plaster from the ceiling, a very ornate plaster ceiling, was crashing down on the floor. And I put this boy into a porter's chair with a hooded chair, and pushed him up against a pillar, and he asked me to hold his hand, which I did. Then Dr. Lynn answered the challenger and said, "We surrender," after some minutes, So we were taken out the back window there, into the castle yard, and brought into Ship Street Barracks, all of us, men and women, that were taken. And there we were for a couple of days, very uncomfortable, no beds, nothing to lie on. You see, no blankets. But there we stayed until we were moved then to Kilmainham. I was with the girls brought up into one of the upper galleries where some of the men were, including James Connolly. Well, every morning we heard shots in the yard below, and there was something sinister about them. We knew the men were being shot, which was the truth, they were. So that was a terrible experience for us, and that went on. And after, I think a week or so, maybe more, we were then moved to Mountjoy prison.